The Galactic Council chamber stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal, its walls carved from a single piece of living stone that hummed with ancient power. Representatives from 47 species sat in their designated areas, each section designed to accommodate their unique physiologies. The air itself was carefully balanced, containing the precise mixture of gases needed to keep every delegate alive and comfortable. Ambassador Zektar of the Vorthak Empire adjusted his ceremonial armor plates as he reviewed the morning's agenda on his neural interface. The metallic scales along his neck bristled with anticipation. Today would be historic. Today, the Council would finally address the human problem. The Vorthak had been the dominant military force in this sector for over 3,000 years. Their fleets numbered in the millions, their warriors were bred for conquest, and their technology had crushed hundreds of civilizations. But now, after their recent expedition to a small blue world called Earth, Zektar found himself in the unusual position of requesting council intervention. High Chancellor Mordain, a towering ethereal whose translucent body flickered between dimensions, called the session to order. Her voice resonated through every mind present, bypassing the need for translation devices. We gather today to hear Ambassador Zektar's report on the Vorthak expedition to the Sol System, Mordain announced. This session has been requested under Emergency Protocol 7. A ripple of interest passed through the chamber. Emergency Protocol 7 had not been invoked in over 800 years. The last time was when the Devourers had broken through from dark space, requiring the combined might of 12 species to push them back. Zektar rose from his seat, his massive frame casting shadows across the nearby delegates. At nearly 4 meters tall and weighing over 600 kilograms of pure muscle and bone, he was an impressive sight even among the diverse assembly. His people had evolved on a high-gravity world where only the strongest survived, and it showed in every line of his powerful build. Honored Council, he began, his voice carrying the weight of authority earned through countless battles. 3 months ago, the Vorthak Empire dispatched the 18th Conquest Fleet to the Sol System. Intelligence reports indicated a primitive species called humans had achieved basic spaceflight and were expanding beyond their homeworld. Standard protocol dictated a demonstration of superior force followed by subjugation or elimination. Several delegates nodded in understanding. This was the way of things in their galaxy. Advanced species guided or controlled primitive ones. It had been a natural order for millennia. The fleet consisted of 200 capital ships, 800 cruisers, and supporting vessels numbering over 3,000. Total crew complement exceeded 2 million Vorthak warriors. Zektar paused, allowing the impressive numbers to sink in. Many species in the Council commanded smaller total populations than the force he had just described. Ambassador Telani of the Crystalline Collective chimed in harmony, her song-like voice carrying curiosity. Such a force seems excessive for a primitive world. What warranted this scale of deployment? Zektar's mandibles clicked together, a sign of agitation among his people. Initial surveillance revealed the humans had established colonies on several worlds and moons within their system. Their technology appeared equivalent to early spacefaring civilizations we had encountered before. However, their rate of advancement was concerning. He activated a holographic display that materialized in the center of the chamber. The image showed Earth as seen from space, a blue and green marble suspended in the void. It looked peaceful, almost inviting. The human homeworld, Zektar explained. Population approximately 8 billion. No energy shields, no orbital defense platforms, no apparent military space fleet of any significant size. Our strategists estimated conquest would require no more than 72 hours. Ambassador Kreth of the Silicon Brotherhood scraped his rocky appendages together in what passed for laughter among his kind. You brought a conquest fleet to swat an insect. That is what we believed, Zektar replied grimly. We were wrong. The holographic display shifted, showing the approach of the Vorthak fleet. Massive wedge-shaped vessels moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls bristling with weapons that could crack continents. The sight should have been magnificent, a display of overwhelming power that would send any reasonable species scrambling to surrender. We emerged from hyperspace at the edge of their system, Zektar continued. Standard approach, maximum intimidation. Our first communication was a demand for immediate surrender. We gave them 1 solar day to respond. And prompted Chancellor Mordain. They told us to leave. A collective intake of breath echoed through the chamber. Several delegates began speaking at once, their voices creating a cacophony of disbelief. Zektar raised his hand for silence. The response came from their world government. A simple message: this is Earth. You are not welcome here. Leave our system immediately or face the consequences. Ambassador Voltar of the Void Dancers flickered between visible and invisible, his species' version of nervous laughter. Surely this was bravado? A bluff? That is what Fleet Commander Haxel believed. He ordered the fleet to advance to their homeworld. The plan was simple: orbital bombardment of major population centers until they surrendered. Clean, efficient, minimal casualties. Zektar's expression darkened. We never reached their planet. The holographic display changed again, showing the Vorthak fleet moving deeper into the Sol system. They passed the orbital paths of the outer planets without incident, their massive forms dwarfing the small rocky worlds and gas giants. The first attack came when we were 3 astronomical units from their homeworld, Zektar said. Our sensors detected small craft approaching from multiple vectors. Fighter-class vessels, no larger than our maintenance pods. Commander Haxel laughed. Our point defense systems could have swatted them like insects. Could have. Ambassador Teloni's harmonic voice carried a note of confusion. The human fighters moved like nothing we had ever seen. They accelerated at rates that should have liquefied their pilots, changed direction with impossible precision, and somehow avoided our targeting systems completely. Before we could adapt, they had penetrated our formation. Zektar's hands clenched into fists as he recalled the memory. They targeted our engine cores with surgical precision, not to destroy us completely, but to disable us. In the span of 10 minutes, they had crippled 60% of our capital ships. The chamber fell silent. Ambassador Krith's rocky features ground together in disbelief. Impossible. No species achieves such technological advancement without building corresponding infrastructure. Were there shipyards? Their manufacturing worlds? Unknown, Zektar admitted. Our intelligence services had monitored their system for decades. We saw industrial development, yes, but nothing that suggested the capability to build such advanced fighters. It was as if they materialized from nowhere. Chancellor Mordain leaned forward, her ethereal form solidifying slightly with concentration. What was the fleet's response? Commander Haxel ordered immediate retreat to defensive formation. We activated emergency protocols and prepared for extended combat. The humans. Zektar paused, struggling with the next words. The humans stopped attacking. Stop. They surrounded our disabled vessels and began transmitting medical assistance frequencies. When our crews reported injuries from the sudden engine failures, the humans sent medical teams aboard our ships. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Several delegates exchanged glances of pure bewilderment. Ambassador Voltar materialized fully, his void-dark features showing confusion. They helped you. Not just helped. They saved lives. Our ship designs prioritize offensive capability over crew safety. When the engines failed, several vessels suffered catastrophic system failures. Without human assistance, thousands of our warriors would have died. Zektar activated another section of the holographic display. The image showed human medical teams working alongside Vorthak crew members, their much smaller forms moving efficiently through the alien corridors. Their medical technology was decades ahead of ours, he continued. They treated injuries we considered untreatable. But, more than that, they shared their techniques with our medics. Freely, without any demand for compensation or concession. Ambassador Kreth ground his stone features together. This makes no sense. They disabled your fleet and then save your lives? What manner of strategy is this? That is what we wondered. Commander Haxel demanded an explanation from their leaders. The response came from someone identified as Admiral Sarachun of the Human Defense Force. Zektar's voice took on a strange tone, almost respectful. She said, and I quote, "We told you to leave. You didn't listen. We stopped you. Now we're making sure nobody dies unnecessarily. That's what civilized beings do." The word civilized seemed to hang in the air like an accusation. Chancellor Mordaine's form flickered with what might have been amusement. They lectured your commander on civilization? They did more than that. Admiral Chun requested permission to come aboard our flagship for direct negotiations. She arrived in a single small craft with no escort and no weapons. Zektar's mandibles clicked rapidly. I have reviewed the recording of that meeting dozens of times. I still cannot comprehend what I witnessed. Elaborate. Admiral Chun was human-typical, small, fragile-looking, with none of the obvious physical advantages of a warrior species. Commander Haxel could have killed her with a single blow. Instead, he found himself listening. The holographic display shifted to show the interior of a Vorthack command ship. The image quality was grainy, clearly recorded from internal security systems. In the center of the vast bridge stood a small figure in a simple blue uniform, surrounded by massive armored Vorthack warriors. She spoke for 3 hours, Zektar continued. She explained their position. Earth was their home. They would defend it, but they had no interest in conquest or expansion beyond their current colonies. She offered to share their medical technology in exchange for our immediate withdrawal from their system. Ambassador Telani's harmonic voice carried disbelief. And your commander accepted? Commander Haxel challenged her to single combat. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. Single combat was a sacred tradition among the Vorthack, reserved for matters of utmost importance. For a Vorthack commander to issue such a challenge to an alien was virtually unheard of. The Admiral accepted, Zektar said quietly. She what? Ambassador Voltar materialized so suddenly that several nearby delegates started in surprise. She accepted. No weapons, no armor, no artificial enhancements. Just as our traditions require. Zektar's voice dropped to almost a whisper. Commander Haxel was a veteran of 200 campaigns. He had never lost a single combat. He outweighed Admiral Chun by a factor of 10 and possessed strength that could crush steel. The holographic display changed again, showing a large open area within the ship. Vorthack crew members lined the walls, their expressions ranging from amusement to anticipation. In the center stood 2 figures, the massive form of Commander Haxel and the tiny human admiral. The fight lasted 18 minutes, Zektar said. Admiral Chun moved like liquid energy. Every attack Commander Haxel made, she anticipated. Every opening she found, she exploited with perfect precision. She never tried to match his strength. She didn't need to. The delegates watched in stunned silence as the recording showed the human admiral dancing around the Vorthack commander's massive swings, landing precise strikes at key pressure points and joints. There was no wasted motion, no unnecessary force, just perfect efficiency. When it ended, Commander Haxel lay unconscious on the deck. Admiral Chun was breathing heavily but otherwise unharmed. She helped our medics treat his injuries. Zektar's voice carried a note of something that might have been awe. Then, she repeated her offer, medical technology in exchange for withdrawal. Chancellor Mordain leaned back, her ethereal form shimmering with thought. And the fleet withdrew? Not immediately. Commander Haxel regained consciousness and accepted Admiral Chen's terms, but several of our ship captains objected. They demanded the right to continue the conquest despite their commander's defeat. Sector Pus. That is when the humans revealed the true extent of their capabilities. The holographic display shifted to show space around the human homeworld. What had appeared empty before now revealed itself to be anything but. Massive structures materialized, as if emerging from invisibility itself. Orbital defense platforms, Zektar explained. Hundreds of them, each one larger than our biggest battleships, and armed with weapons we could not identify. They had been there all along, hidden by technology we cannot even comprehend. Ambassador Krith's rocky features scraped together in agitation. Cloaking technology of that sophistication should be impossible for a species at their development level. That is what we thought. But then Admiral Chen showed us more. The display changed again, revealing the interior of one of the defense platforms. The technology was sleek, elegant, and completely beyond anything the Vorthack had ever encountered. She gave us a tour, Zektar said, his voice hollow with remembered shock. Not just of the weapons, but of their entire infrastructure. Underground cities that could house their entire population during a siege. Manufacturing facilities that could produce their fighters in quantities we had not imagined. And their people, he paused, struggling to find words. Their people what? Chancellor Morden prompted. They were not afraid. 8 billion beings facing a fleet that had conquered half the sector, and they were not afraid. They were prepared, organized, and completely confident in their ability to protect their world. Admiral Chen told us that they had been expecting someone like us for decades. The chamber erupted in discussion as delegates struggled to process what they were hearing. A primitive species that had somehow developed technology beyond the understanding of established galactic powers was troubling enough, but the implications went deeper. Ambassador Telani's harmonic voice cut through the noise. What happened to your fleet? Admiral Chun kept her word. She provided us with medical technology that revolutionized our understanding of healing. She also gave us something else. Zektar activated a new section of the display, showing a data crystal. Complete specifications for their defensive capabilities. She revealed their secrets? Ambassador Voltar flickered with confusion. She said transparency prevents misunderstandings. She wanted us to understand exactly what would happen if anyone attacked Earth again. Zektar's mandibles clicked slowly. The defensive platforms we saw were only the beginning. They have weapons that can manipulate gravity itself, energy shields that exist in multiple dimensions, and manufacturing capabilities that dwarf our largest industrial worlds. Chancellor Mordane's form solidified as she leaned forward. How is this possible? Our intelligence networks monitor all technological development in this sector. According to Admiral Chun, they developed most of their advanced technology in the 15 years since they achieved faster-than-light travel. She called it motivated innovation driven by existential necessity. Zektar's expression darkened. They knew we were watching them. They knew that first contact with galactic civilization would likely be violent. So they prepared. The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. If the humans could advance their technology so rapidly while being observed, what else were they capable of? Ambassador Krith ground his features together nervously. What was their response when your fleet finally withdrew? They escorted us to the edge of their system and wished us safe travels. Admiral Chen's final message was an invitation. Zektar activated the last section of his presentation. The humans have requested formal diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. They want to establish trade agreements, share scientific knowledge, and contribute to galactic peace and prosperity. The silence that followed was profound. Chancellor Mordane was the first to speak. They want to join us. They want to help us, Zektar corrected. Admiral Chun was very clear about their intentions. They have no interest in conquest or expansion beyond their current territory. They want to share their medical advances, their defensive technologies, and their industrial techniques with any species willing to engage in peaceful relations. Ambassador Voltar materialized fully, his void-touched features showing deep concern. And if we refuse, then they will leave us alone. Admiral Chen emphasized that they have no desire to interfere with other species' internal affairs. But She also made it clear that any hostile action toward Earth or human colonies would be met with the same response we received. The weight of that statement settled over the chamber like a heavy blanket. The humans were offering partnership or isolation, but not conquest. For species accustomed to expansion through force, the concept was almost incomprehensible. Chancellor Mordain's ethereal form flickered with deep thought. You believe their offer is genuine? I have reviewed every interaction, every scan, every piece of data we collected during our time in their system, Zektar replied. The humans display no signs of deception or hidden agenda. Their technology is real, their defensive capabilities are beyond question, and their offer of peaceful cooperation appears sincere. But they're also absolutely terrifying. Zektar's voice carried a weight that made every delegate lean forward. They defeated our fleet without destroying it, healed our wounded without demanding payment, and revealed their capabilities without showing weakness. They're the most dangerous species I have ever encountered, and they are offering to be our friends. The chamber fell silent as the delegates absorbed the full implications of Zektar's report. A species had appeared that possessed technology beyond their understanding, military capabilities that had effortlessly neutralized one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets, and diplomatic intentions that defied every precedent in galactic history. Chancellor Mordain finally spoke, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. The Council will need time to deliberate on this matter. Ambassador Zektar, you will remain available for additional questions. As the session was called to recess, delegates began clustering in small groups, their conversations animated and urgent. The humans had changed everything simply by existing, and nobody knew what would happen next. Zektar remained in his seat, staring at the holographic display that still showed the image of Earth. Somewhere on that blue world, 8 billion beings continue their lives, probably unaware that their very existence had just shaken the foundations of galactic civilization. He thought about Admiral Chun and her calm confidence about the human medical teams that had saved Vorthak lives, about the impossible technology that had appeared from nowhere. The humans had offered friendship to a galaxy that had only known conquest and subjugation for thousands of years. The question now was whether the galaxy was ready to accept it. The debate had raged for 3 days. In the private chambers beneath the Galactic Council building, representatives from the major powers gathered in heated discussion. The official sessions were merely theater now. The real decisions were being made in these shadowed halls where ancient rivalries and territorial disputes could be discussed without the pretense of diplomatic courtesy. Ambassador Zektar stood before a curved wall of living crystal, watching data streams flow like liquid light across its surface. Each stream represented intelligence reports, military assessments, and economic projections related to the human situation. The picture they painted was troubling. You expect us to believe that a single primitive world has technology that surpasses our combined knowledge. General Korvax of the Hegemony Coalition slammed his armored fist against the conference table, causing several smaller delegates to flinch. This is impossible. Ambassador Yelena of the Trade Federation adjusted her environmental suit with careful precision. Her aquatic species required constant moisture, and stress made her gills work harder. The economic implications alone are staggering. If the humans can manufacture at the levels described in these reports, they could destabilize trade throughout this entire sector. Destabilize or revolutionize? Dr. Shintar of the Scientific Collective leaned forward, his multiple eyes focusing intently on the data streams. The medical technology alone could extend lifespans across dozens of species. The potential benefits are immeasurable. General Korvax turned his massive head toward the scientist. Benefits? These humans humiliated the Vorthak Empire. They made our most powerful military force look like children playing with toys. Zektar finally turned from his study of the data. General, with respect, they did not humiliate us. They demonstrated restraint that none of us would have shown in their position. Restraint. Korvax's laugh was a harsh grinding sound. They crippled your fleet. They disabled our ships without killing our crews. They provided medical assistance to their enemies. They revealed their defensive capabilities to prevent future misunderstandings. Zektar's voice carried the weight of hard-earned wisdom. If the situations had been reversed, how many humans would still be alive? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Every being in the chamber knew the answer. Standard protocol for dealing with potentially hostile primitive species was swift and brutal. Few civilizations survived first contact with the established galactic powers. Ambassador Yelena's gills fluttered nervously. The trade data is what concerns me most. Our economists have analyzed the manufacturing capabilities the humans demonstrated. If they choose to enter galactic markets, they could undercut established suppliers by orders of magnitude. And if they don't, Dr. Shuntar asked pointedly, then we lose access to technology that could advance our civilizations by centuries, Yelena admitted reluctantly. High Inquisitor Malkavid of the Orthodoxy had remained silent throughout the discussion, his hooded form motionless in the shadows. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the chill of deep space. Has anyone considered that this might be an elaborate deception? The chamber fell silent. Explain, General Korvax demanded. What if the humans are not what they appear? What if this display of advanced technology is a facade designed to make us believe they are more powerful than they actually are? Malkavid's pale hands emerged from his robes, gesturing at the data streams. Consider the timing. They developed centuries of technological advancement in mere decades, just as galactic civilization discovers them. The coincidence is suspect. Dr. Shuntar's multiple eyes narrowed in thought. You suggest they had outside help. I suggest we know nothing about these humans beyond what they have chosen to reveal. Their offer of friendship and cooperation could be a prelude to something far more sinister. Zektar stepped forward. High Inquisitor, I respect your caution, but I was there. I saw their technology in operation, witnessed their medical teams working, observed their manufacturing facilities. If this is deception, it is beyond anything we have encountered before, which is precisely why we should be concerned, Malkavid replied coldly. The most dangerous enemies are those who hide their true nature behind masks of friendship. Ambassador Telani had been silent throughout the debate, her crystalline form pulsing with slow, thoughtful rhythms. When she finally spoke, her harmonic voice carried undertones of deep analysis. I have been reviewing the linguistic patterns in the human communications, she sang. Their language structures, the way they phrase their diplomatic overtures, even their technological documentation, it all suggests a species with fundamentally different priorities than our own. Different how? Yelena asked. They appear to value cooperation over conquest, preservation over expansion, innovation over acquisition. When Admiral Chun described their defensive preparations, she used terms like protection and safety rather than dominance or control. Telani's crystalline features shifted to display complex mathematical patterns. Their entire civilization seems oriented around concepts that are alien to our traditional understanding of advanced species behavior. General Korvax snorted in disgust. Cooperation and preservation? No species reaches the stars without aggression and conquest. It's impossible. And yet here they are, Zektar pointed out. Not only reaching the stars, but developing technology that makes our best efforts look primitive. The debate was interrupted by a soft chime from the chamber's communication system. Chancellor Mordane's ethereal form materialized in the center of the room, her expression grave. Honored delegates, we have received a transmission from the Sol system. The humans have sent an additional message. Every being in the chamber straightened with attention. Display the message, General Korvax commanded. The crystal wall transformed into a viewing screen showing a simple room with blue-green walls. A human female sat at a plain metal desk, her dark hair pulled back in a functional style. She wore the same blue uniform Zektar remembered from his encounter with Admiral Chun. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council. I am Director Maria Santos of the Human Diplomatic Corps. We understand that our recent contact with the Vorthack expedition may have raised questions about our intentions and capabilities. We would like to address those concerns directly. Director Santos' voice was calm and professional, but Zektar noticed something else. Her eyes held the same quality he had seen in Admiral Chun. Complete confidence without arrogance, determination without aggression. We are aware that our technological development may seem unusual to established galactic civilizations. We want to be transparent about how we achieved our current capabilities. Santos gestured to something off-screen, and the image shifted to show a massive underground facility. The chamber erupted in startled exclamations as the delegates saw the true scope of human infrastructure. The facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, with levels extending deep into the planet's crust. Millions of humans worked alongside machines that seemed to flow like living metal, assembling technologies that defied conventional understanding. This is one of our primary research and development centers, Santos continued as the camera moved through the facility. We have 47 similar installations across Earth and our colonies. They have been operating continuously for the past 12 years. Dr. Shintar leaned forward, his eyes wide with scientific curiosity. 12 years? How did they build something of that magnitude so quickly? Santos seemed to anticipate the question. We began construction the day after our first deep space probe detected evidence of galactic civilization. We realized that first contact would likely involve species far more advanced than ourselves. We had two choices: prepare for conquest or prepare for cooperation. We chose to prepare for both. The image shifted again, showing the manufacturing processes in detail. Humans worked alongside machines that seemed to anticipate their needs, creating components with precision that made established galactic technology look crude by comparison. Our approach to technological development differs from what we understand to be galactic norms, Santos continued. Rather than focusing on conquest and expansion, we concentrated on defense, cooperation, and sustainability. We developed our technology not to dominate others, but to ensure our survival and contribute to galactic prosperity. Ambassador Yelena's gills fluttered rapidly. The efficiency levels they're displaying, it shouldn't be possible. We are prepared to share our methods with any species interested in peaceful cooperation, Santos said, as if she had heard the comment. We believe that technological advancement should benefit all sentient life, not just the species that develops it. High Inquisitor Malkavitz's hooded form shifted uncomfortably. This could be an elaborate manipulation. Show us advanced technology to make us dependent on their cooperation. Santos' image paused, then looked directly at the camera with an expression that seemed to peer through the screen into the chamber itself. We understand that our offer may be met with skepticism. Trust must be earned, especially in a galaxy where first contact has historically meant conquest or subjugation. The image changed to show Earth from space, but now the hidden defensive installations were visible. Massive structures orbited the planet like protective guardians, their sleek forms bristling with technologies that registered as impossible on every scanner in the chamber. These are our orbital defense platforms. We are sharing complete technical specifications for their construction and operation. Santos gestured, and streams of data began flowing across the screen. We are also providing the location and defensive capabilities of every human installation in this sector of space. The chamber fell into stunned silence. No species had ever voluntarily revealed their complete military capabilities to potential enemies. Why? General Korvax demanded of the screen, though he knew Santos could not hear him. We are providing this information because we want you to understand our position, Santos continued, as if responding to his unspoken question. We're not defenseless, but we're not aggressive. We can protect ourselves, but we prefer to cooperate. We hope that complete transparency will demonstrate our commitment to peaceful coexistence. The data streams flowing across the screen contained enough information to revolutionize galactic military technology. Defense systems that could neutralize attacks across multiple dimensions, energy sources that tapped directly into stellar output, manufacturing techniques that could produce fleets in a fraction of traditional time frames. Dr. Shintar was frantically taking notes, his multiple appendages moving in blur as he tried to capture even a fraction of the information being displayed. This is beyond anything we've seen. Their energy manipulation alone represents advancement we haven't achieved after millennia of development. There is another matter we wish to address, Santos said, and the image changed to show a star map of the local sector. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected several potential threats to galactic stability in this region. Red markers appeared throughout the map, indicating areas of concern. Several were in regions that have been experiencing unexplained disappearances of ships and colonies. We have identified the source of the recent attacks on trade routes and border colonies. There's an aggressive species approaching this sector from beyond the galactic rim. They call themselves the Devourers, and they are unlike anything our civilizations have encountered before. The chamber erupted in alarm. The Devourers were legend, a nightmare from the dark between galaxies that have been dismissed as mythology for centuries. Santos' expression grew grave. Our calculations indicate they will reach the outer colonies within 18 months. Their technology is based on consuming and converting organic matter into raw materials for their war machines. They do not negotiate, they do not show mercy, and they do not stop until everything in their path has been consumed. The star map zoomed in to show detailed projections of the Devourer advance. The path of destruction was clear and undeniable. We are prepared to share our defensive technology with any species willing to coordinate a joint defense. The Devourers represent an existential threat to all life in this sector. We believe that cooperation is not just preferable, but necessary for survival. General Korvax stared at the projections with growing alarm. If their data is accurate, the Devourers will reach hegemony space in 2 years. We hope the Galactic Council will consider our offer of alliance, Santos concluded. We are not asking for submission or subjugation. We are asking for partnership in the face of a common threat. We have the technology to resist the Devourers, but we cannot defend the entire sector alone. The image faded, leaving the chamber in darkness for a moment before the normal lighting returned. Chancellor Mordane's ethereal form flickered with intense thought. If the human intelligence is accurate, we are facing the greatest threat to galactic civilization in recorded history. And if it's not? Malkavitt asked coldly. If this is an elaborate deception designed to make us dependent on their technology and cooperation. Zektar studied the data still flowing across the crystal wall. High Inquisitor, the humans have provided complete specifications for their defensive systems. Any deception would be exposed the moment we attempted to verify their technology. Unless the deception is deeper than we realize. Ambassador Telani's crystalline form pulsed with complex patterns of analysis. I have been studying their communication patterns, their technological documentation, even the mathematical principles underlying their defensive systems. Everything is internally consistent and theoretically sound. If this is deception, it represents a level of planning and execution that would be more impressive than genuine advanced technology. Dr. Shuntar looked up from his notes. The energy signatures from their orbital platforms are detectable by our sensors. The gravitational effects of their manufacturing facilities are visible in stellar positioning data. Their technology appears to be exactly what they claim it is. General Korvax paced the length of the chamber, his massive form casting shifting shadows. Assuming their technology is genuine and assuming their intelligence about the Devourers is accurate, what are our options? 3 possibilities, Chancellor Mordane replied. We can accept their offer of alliance and gain access to defensive technology that might save our civilizations. We can reject their offer and attempt to face the Devourers with our current capabilities. Or we can attempt to conquer the human worlds and take their technology by force. The third option appears to be impossible, Zektar pointed out. Our intelligence indicates that their defensive capabilities would make conquest prohibitively costly, if not impossible. Which leaves us with cooperation or annihilation, Yelena said quietly. The weight of the decision settled over the chamber like a suffocating blanket. For thousands of years, galactic civilization had operated on principles of conquest and subjugation. The strong dominated the weak, advanced species controlled primitive ones, and cooperation was a sign of weakness. Now they faced a species that had turned those principles upside down, offering partnership to potential enemies and sharing advanced technology with those who might use it against them. It was either the most naive gesture in galactic history or the most sophisticated form of diplomacy they had ever encountered. High Inquisitor Mal Cavett broke the silence. I still believe this is a trap. The humans are too good to be true, their technology too advanced, their motivations too altruistic. No species reaches their level of development without darker impulses. Perhaps, Zektar replied thoughtfully. But if their warnings about the Devourers prove accurate, our own darker impulses may be irrelevant. The choice may not be between cooperation and conquest, but between cooperation and extinction. The debate would continue for hours, then days, then weeks. But in the deepest part of his consciousness, Zektar already knew what the outcome would be. The humans had done something no species in galactic history had ever managed. They had made themselves indispensable while remaining genuinely unthreatening. Whether that was calculated brilliance or genuine altruism remained to be seen. But as he studied the projections of the approaching Devourer fleet, Zektar realized it might not matter. Sometimes survival required accepting help from the most unexpected sources. And the humans, impossible though it seemed, might just be the salvation that galactic civilization never knew it needed. 14 months later, the first Devourer scouts reached the outer rim of the Galactic Council's territory. The Kepler Station monitoring outpost detected them first, dark shapes moving through space at impossible speeds, leaving trails of consumed matter in their wake. The station's final transmission lasted exactly 17 seconds before the signal cut to static. In the emergency session of the Galactic Council, Chancellor Mordane's ethereal form flickered with barely contained urgency as she addressed the assembly. The past year had transformed the chamber from a place of debate into a command center for galactic defense. The human predictions have proven accurate, Mordane announced to the gathered delegates. Long-range sensors confirmed the approach of Devourer forces exactly as Director Santos projected. Ambassador Zektar stood at a tactical display showing the sector in real time. Red markers indicated confirmed Devourer positions, while blue markers showed the hastily constructed defensive networks that now protected dozens of worlds. The transformation had been remarkable. Status report on the defense grid? General Korvax requested. The massive warrior had lost much of his skepticism about human capabilities over the past year, though he still carried himself with military precision. Dr. Shintar consulted his data tablet, his multiple eyes scanning through columns of technical specifications. 97 defensive platforms are now operational across 43 systems. Each platform incorporates human gravitational manipulation technology combined with our own energy systems. Theoretical effectiveness against Devourer forces is estimated at 85%. Theoretical, High Inquisitor Mal Cavett repeated coldly. He had opposed the human alliance until the very end, finally, agreeing only when scout ships began disappearing from the rim systems. We are betting our civilizations on untested technology provided by a species we have known for barely 1 year. Ambassador Tellanese crystalline form pulsed with harmonic frequencies that indicated measured optimism. The human technology has exceeded specifications in every test scenario. More importantly, they have kept every promise made during negotiations. It was true. Over the past 14 months, humanity had shared not only defensive technology, but also manufacturing techniques, medical advances, and energy systems that had revolutionized galactic industry. The integration had been so smooth that many species had begun to wonder how they had managed without human innovations. Admiral Chen's fleet has taken position in the Meridian system, Zektar reported. She requests permission to coordinate joint defensive operations. The mention of Admiral Chen still carried weight throughout the chamber. The small human who had defeated Commander Haxel in single combat had become something of a legend among the warrior classes of multiple species. Her tactical brilliance had been proven repeatedly during the defensive preparations. Granted, Chancellor Mordain replied. Open communications to the human fleet. The main display activated, showing the bridge of a human vessel. The technology was sleek and elegant, with surfaces that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Admiral Sarah Chun stood at the center, her calm presence radiating confidence despite the approaching threat. Council members, Chun greeted them with a respectful nod. Our forward scouts report the main Devourer fleet will reach the Meridian system within 6 hours. They're bringing approximately 15,000 vessels. A collective intake of breath echoed through the chamber. 15,000 ships represented a force larger than most species' total military capacity. Numbers on our defensive forces? General Korvax asked. Combined council and human forces total just over 4,000 ships, Chen replied. However, our tactical analysis suggests that traditional ship counts may not be relevant in this engagement. Dr. Shintar leaned forward with interest. Explain. Chen gestured to someone off-screen, and the display shifted to show tactical projections. Devourer vessels are primarily organic, grown rather than built. They repair themselves by consuming available matter, but this also represents a significant weakness. Our gravitational manipulation systems can disrupt their molecular cohesion at the quantum level. In simpler terms, Ambassador Yi Leonardic Vestiet. We can literally tear them apart at the atomic level, Chen explained matter-of-factly. The challenge is that they adapt quickly. Each attack strategy will only work for a limited time before they develop countermeasures. High Inquisitor Malkavitz's hooded form shifted uncomfortably. You speak of the enemy with remarkable confidence for someone whose species has never faced them before. Chun turned her attention to the Inquisitor with the same calm regard she showed everyone. High Inquisitor, our species has a saying, know your enemy and know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. We have studied the Devourers extensively. We know what they are and how they fight. How extensively? Malkavitt pressed. We encountered them before, Chen said simply. The chamber fell silent. This was the first time anyone had suggested prior human contact with the Devourers. When Chancellor Mordain demanded. 47 years ago, a Devourer scout force reached our outer colonies. We lost 2 worlds and 40 million people before we managed to stop them. Chen's expression remained controlled, but something flickered in her eyes. It was that encounter that drove our rapid technological development. We knew they would return. Zektar felt pieces clicking into place in his mind. That is why your defensive preparations seemed so advanced. You had been preparing for this specific enemy. Yes, every technology we developed, every defensive system we built, every tactical doctrine we created was designed with the Devourers in mind. We have had 47 years to prepare for this moment. General Korvax leaned forward. 47 years, and you never informed the galactic community about the threat? Would you have believed us? Chen asked pointedly, an unknown species claiming that mythical monsters were real and approaching. We barely believed it ourselves until we started finding their feeding grounds scattered throughout the Rim territories. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just predicted the Devourer invasion. They had been preparing for it for nearly 5 decades. Their offer of alliance had not been naive optimism, but calculated necessity. The defensive platforms we helped you build, Dr. Shuntar said slowly. They're specifically designed to counter Devourer technology. Correct. Every system, every weapon, every defensive measure incorporates lessons learned from our first encounter with them. We could not protect our colonies alone 47 years ago, but together, we might be able to protect all of our worlds today. Chancellor Mordain's ethereal form solidified with determination. Admiral, you have our full authorization to coordinate defensive operations. What do you need? Trust, Chen replied immediately. The tactics required to defeat the Devourers will seem unconventional to traditional military thinking. Ship captains will need to follow orders that appear to contradict established doctrine. Species will need to coordinate with former enemies. Old rivalries must be set aside completely. She paused, looking around the chamber with an expression that seemed to see into each delegate's thoughts. Most importantly, you need to understand that this is not a battle for territory or resources. This is a battle for the right of organic life to exist in this galaxy. The Devourers do not negotiate, they do not retreat, and they do not show mercy. Either we stop them here, or they will consume everything. The gravity of her words settled over the chamber like a lead blanket. For all their differences, every species represented in the council valued their continued existence. Time to intercept? Zektar asked. 4 hours, 37 minutes until the first wave reaches our outer perimeter, Chen reported. All defensive platforms are online and coordinated. Fleet positions are optimized for maximum tactical flexibility. We are as ready as we can be. High Inquisitor Malkavitt spoke into the silence that followed. Admiral, if your assessment is correct, and this engagement determines the survival of galactic civilization, why are you so calm? Chun smiled for the first time during the conversation, and the expression transformed her entire demeanor. High Inquisitor, my species has a phrase for situations like this. When you cannot avoid a fight, make sure you are the most dangerous thing in the room. She gestured to the tactical display, which expanded to show the full scope of the defensive preparations. Hundreds of platforms, thousands of ships, and millions of personnel from dozens of species working in perfect coordination. For the past year, representatives from 47 species have worked together to build the most advanced defensive network in galactic history. Former enemies have shared technology, rival civilizations have coordinated strategy, and warrior cultures have learned to trust peaceful cooperation. Chen's smile widened. The Devourers are expecting to find divided civilizations fighting each other as much as fighting them. Instead, they're going to find something that has never existed before, a truly unified galactic defense. The display shifted to show Devourer fleet movements. The dark shapes moved through space like a plague, consuming everything in their path, and growing stronger with each destroyed world. They have adapted to fighting scattered resistance and isolated civilizations, Chun continued. They have never faced coordinated defense on this scale. They have never encountered technologies specifically designed to counter their abilities. Most importantly, they have never fought an enemy that chose cooperation over conquest. Ambassador Telani's harmonic voice carried a note of understanding. You believe that our unity itself is a weapon against them. I know it is. The Devourers succeed by exploiting division, turning civilizations against each other while they consume both sides. United civilizations are their greatest weakness because unity prevents the internal conflicts they depend on. Chen's expression grew serious. But that unity must be absolute. One species choosing self-interest over cooperation could compromise the entire defensive network. General Korvax straightened to his full height. The Hegemony Coalition stands ready to follow unified command. The Trade Federation commits all available resources to joint defense, Ambassador Yelena added. One by one, every delegate in the chamber voiced their commitment to the unified defense. Even High Inquisitor Malkavitt, though his words were reluctant, pledged the orthodoxy support. Chancellor Mordain's ethereal form blazed with determination. Admiral Chun, you have the full authority of the Galactic Council to coordinate our defense. Command us as you see fit. Chen nodded gravely. Thank you, Chancellor. All fleet commanders, prepare for Operation Unity. This is not a battle for victory. It is a stand for survival. Today, we discover whether cooperation is stronger than conquest. The communication ended, leaving the chamber in contemplative silence. Outside, the greatest military force in galactic history was moving into position to face an enemy that had consumed civilizations across multiple galaxies. Hours passed in tense waiting. Reports flowed in from the outer perimeter as Devourer scouts probed the defensive network. Each probe was repelled, but the enemy was clearly analyzing their capabilities and planning countermeasures. Then, without warning, the main assault began. The tactical displays in the council chamber lit up with thousands of contacts as the Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace. The dark ships moved like living creatures, flowing through space in patterns that defied conventional tactics. First wave engaging defensive platforms, reported Admiral Chen's voice over the communication system. Gravitational disruptors are effective. Enemy vessels are experiencing molecular cohesion failure. On the displays, Devourer ships simply came apart as invisible forces tore them apart at the quantum level. But for every ship destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. They are adapting faster than projected, Chen reported. Switching to secondary weapon systems, the defensive platforms began firing energy beams that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Where the beams struck Devourer vessels, reality itself seemed to twist and bend, creating holes in space that swallowed the enemy ships completely. Dimensional warfare. Dr. Shuntar breathed in amazement. They are banishing the enemy ships to parallel dimensions. But even this proved temporary. Within minutes, new Devourer ships appeared with shielding that deflected the dimensional weapons. All platforms, initiate Protocol 7, Chen ordered. Fleet commanders, prepare for close engagement. They're learning to counter our fixed defenses. Time to show them what unified tactics look like. What followed was unlike any battle in galactic history. Ships from dozens of species moved in perfect coordination, their diverse technologies integrated into seamless tactical formations. Vorthack heavy cruisers provided firepower, while crystalline collective vessels manipulated energy fields. Trade Federation logistics ships kept ammunition and fuel flowing while human vessels provided command and control. The Devourers, accustomed to fighting disorganized resistance, found themselves facing an enemy that anticipated their moves and countered their adaptations before they could be fully implemented. Enemy main force is faltering, reported General Korvax from his flagship. Their adaptation rate cannot match our tactical flexibility. Do not become overconfident, Chen warned. This is only the first wave. They are testing our capabilities for future reference. She was right. As quickly as they had appeared, the surviving Devourer ships withdrew to hyperspace, leaving behind only debris and the knowledge that they had encountered something unprecedented. In the council chamber, delegates watched the tactical displays with a mixture of relief and apprehension. They had won the first engagement, but everyone knew it was only the beginning. Chancellor Mordane's ethereal form flickered with exhaustion and hope in equal measure. Admiral Chun, status report. Enemy forces have withdrawn to regroup and adapt. We have approximately 18 hours before they return with countermeasures. Chen's image appeared on the display, her uniform torn and her face showing signs of fatigue. However, they learned something today that they have never experienced before, which is, they learned that organic civilizations can work together. They learned that cooperation can produce technologies and tactics beyond anything they have faced. Most importantly, they learned that some enemies cannot be consumed because they choose to stand together instead of falling separately. Chen paused, looking directly into the camera with an expression of quiet determination. The Devourers have spent millennia believing that organic life is inherently divided and weak. Today, we prove them wrong. Tomorrow, we will prove it again. And we will keep proving it until they understand that this galaxy belongs to those who choose cooperation over conquest. In the aftermath of the battle, as repair crews worked frantically to restore damaged systems and tactical analysts prepared for the next wave, something fundamental had changed in galactic civilization. Former enemies now shared technology freely. Rival species coordinated strategy without reservation. Ancient prejudices were set aside in favor of mutual survival. Humanity had not just offered advanced technology and defensive capabilities. They had offered something far more valuable, a new way of thinking about civilization itself. They had proven that strength came not from domination, but from cooperation, not from conquest, but from unity. The Devourers would return. They would adapt to the unified defense and develop new strategies to divide and conquer. But they would face an enemy unlike anything they had encountered before, a galactic civilization that had learned to value cooperation over competition, unity over division, and mutual survival over individual conquest. And at the center of it all, a small blue world called Earth continued to spin peacefully in space, its 8 billion inhabitants going about their daily lives, probably unaware that they had just taught the galaxy a new definition of strength. The age of conquest was ending. The age of cooperation had begun. And the Devourers, for the first time in their existence across multiple galaxies, had encountered prey that refused to be consumed.